Welcome to Shedding Shackles. Today's topic is separation from truth. And now, here's your Shedding Shackles host, Roland Trujillo.
I'm on a fishing expedition. I'm looking for people who are interested in finding the purpose of life. People who are interested in discovering the truth and knowing the truth, whatever it might be. I'm interested in people who love truth. What's happened to many of you who kind of like the truth is that you've become separated from it. You've become separated from it. I'm chuckling a little bit because of the irony of it. Just think of it. You love truth, but you've become separated from it. Now, how did that happen? If you can listen up to this program and hear what I'm saying and grasp it, then it could be a turning point for your whole life, which hasn't been working out so good. Because you become separated. In your separation from truth, you became separated from love, from understanding, and you sought. Then what did you have to do when you were empty? When you were empty and felt loveless and felt a need, you felt a need to know and a need for love. And so what did you do? You looked out in the world, the very place that had separated you from truth. So you looked out there, you looked to teachers and educators and professors and experts, and you studied. They told you, study, 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 study. And so you went along with them, but you didn't get any understanding. You didn't get any understanding at all. You might live long enough to discover that they don't have any understanding either. The same thing that happened to you happened to them. They had been separated long ago from their ground of being, separated from the truth itself. And then they substituted. It's a compensation, you see. They're very compensated, very, very compensated. And you looked for love in the world. And what did you look to? Well, you looked to the tinsel offerings that are out there. And you looked for love from other people in the form of approval and reassurance and patting you on the back and telling you that you're okay and that you're wonderful. And you looked for all kinds of love. You may have had to settle for the most loathsome substitutes for love. And maybe you turned to drugs and to alcohol and to marijuana to comfort you. And to food. You turned to food because when you ate food, it felt like you were being loved. You could love yourself, but food ended up betraying you also. So everything betrayed you. Everyone betrayed you. But if you could reestablish your connection with truth. Now, remember I said that maybe you're one of those people who kind of like the truth, but ironically, you became separated from it. Now, how did that happen? Well, there's various ways that it can happen. It can happen through doubt. People want to make you doubt yourself, don't they? When you were a little child, you saw something. They wouldn't let you see what you saw. Why is Grandma so mean? Don't say that about your grandma. Your grandma's a very nice person. See? That's kind of the way it is. Maybe I dramatized it a little bit, but that's pretty much the way it is. You weren't allowed to see what you see. You had to see certain people as being wonderful, and you were required to see other people as being terrible. In a lot of families, Mom is angry at Dad. She's angry at Dad because he didn't have the love that she needed. She's angry at all men because they used her and abused her and took advantage of her, and she hates men. She hated your dad. That's right, she hated your dad, but she covered it up. She felt guilty and she tried to be nice, but she resented him. She wanted something from him. He didn't have it. So before long, there was nothing he could do that was any good. Every little thing. And she wanted you to hate him too. That's right. She wanted you to hate him too. And to side with her against him. And maybe there was a divorce. See? You weren't allowed to see what you see. Maybe you kind of liked your dad. You saw he wasn't such a bad guy. But you weren't allowed to like your dad. See? That's just one little example of how the separation from truth begins. More about how you became separated from truth after this brief announcement. Please remember, I'm only on once a week. This is an infomercial, so be sure to write down the web address, www.sheddingshackles.com. I'm a man with a microphone, so people ask, no, I don't have a church. I do not have a church. I'm just a person, and I open my mouth and I talk. And if what I say strikes a responsive chord, then that's good. Then, what happens? Well, the next thing that happens is you become emotional. See, as soon as you're separated from your ground of being, then you have to reach down for emotions in order to function. And so you reach down for emotions, especially anger. That's right. When you saw injustice, for example, made you angry. You saw some kids getting away with everything, and other kids, if they made one little mistake, they got in big trouble and made you angry. Maybe you saw they were being nicer to one kid than another, and that made you angry. You saw that you were being unfairly accused of something you didn't do, and that made you angry. And so anger separated you. And when you became separated through anger, you began to see a mist arose in the mind, the mist of emotions and thoughts whirling around and round and round in your animal brain. And they tended to pull you into them. You know, like when you're sick and you have delirium and you can hardly even think. Well, that's what happened then. You became separated from the truth. Separated from your ground of being. From the source of truth. What you wordlessly knew in your heart. When you were a little child, you saw things and you knew things. You were very close to this wordless. It's called intuition. Intuition. That's the truth. That's the source of truth, your intuition. You just see and you just know in God's light. That's intuition. And you became separated from it. Then you got lost in thoughts. And then you studied. And then you worried. And then you fell into fantasy. And then you became more and more emotional. And that's how the separation begins. So let's just take one little aspect of that fall. Adam became separated through doubt. See? Well, it happened to you too, but you couldn't help it. You were already born subject to wrong authority. See, Adam was subject to God, to the good authority. All he had to do was believe God and love God and not do the one thing that God asked him not to do. Everything would have been fine. But you were born to wrong authorities. Authorities who doubted themselves, who had been separated from truth. And then they compensated. No wonder they didn't have understanding. Now do you understand why your parents often didn't have understanding, why they talked at you instead of to you? Do you understand now? They didn't have understanding. They were separated from it. So don't resent them. Don't resent them. Christ said, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. Your parents were separated long ago. But you can come back to truth. Just grasp what you know in your heart. See what you see. And realize in God's light the truth. And receive it with joy. And you're on your way back to being your true self. And to discovering the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And you have God will give you time. You begin your journey. Begin it now. See, God said it very beautifully. Very beautifully. He said, be still and know that I am God. Be still. So can you be still? Can you go in your room and close the door and sit in a chair and become still? Well, it's hard now because you become antsy, nervous. You begin to feel a vague something wrong. So then what do? You reach for your iPhone. You start daydreaming of anything, something, what you're going to go to the store and buy, or just anything that pops into your mind. You fall into it and drift away with it to escape from reality. To escape from reality, but reality, where your Creator is, that's how you can get better. And first it'll feel a little bit, it'll feel like conscience. See, your intuition, what you know in your heart from your Creator, if you had stayed close to it, but instead you became angry and you fell away from it. It wasn't your fault because you were just a little child, but now you're a big person. Now you can re-find it. And at first it'll be like conscience, and it won't feel good, but it's good for you. You understand? It won't feel good, but conscience is good for you. Learn to sit still and get my little meditation and sit quietly and experience conscience and become as you were when you were a little child long ago, and begin your journey back to your true self, a great adventure through life. And everything that you do, everything that happens to you will then be for good. It says in the Bible, all things work for good for those who love the Lord. So do you love the Lord? Do you love God? Deep down in your heart, do you love Him? Never mind whether you're all messed up or not. It doesn't matter. Do you love God? Deep down in your heart, you love what's right. You love what's sweet. You love the innocence of children. Well, then you love God. And you know what? The journey begins. Just learn to be still. Get the little meditation and you'll be on your way. Guaranteed. You see, there's a timeless realm. A realm of perfect patience, perfect love, perfect stillness. And when your soul, when your soul is aligned with God, then it is very close to that timeless realm. In the moment, you're in the world, but not of the world. You're in the world, but it's a little distant. You're in the world, but you're very close to this timeless realm. And Christ was so close to the Father, that at some point he could step across into that realm. Just like on Star Trek, remember they had a transporter? I forget what it was called, but a person would go in it and they would dematerialize, and then they would materialize somewhere else. Well, such magic is possible. You see, everything God does is magical. Look at a butterfly, or the way the clouds move across the blue sky. Look at the sweetness in a little child. Look at the beauty of nature and you'll see magic everywhere. Well, God is perfectly capable of helping you get better, but you must find Him, become still, and know that He is God. And you will find Him, and He will come to your aid. Some of you are getting the 15-minute version. It's a half-hour program, so if yours is only 15 minutes, go to sheddingshackles.com where you can hear the whole 30-minute program.